This week on Arizona Illustrated, we celebrate national parks, crested saguaros, and the people who love them.
Found 3 new ones this past weekend. Made my day.
The canyons, wildlife, and geologic wonders of Chiricahua National Monument.
Must see in Arizona.
And next generation rangers. Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara, and it's a beautiful day here at Saguaro National Park East, one of 22 national parks, in fact, here in Arizona, and home to the nation's largest cacti, the saguaro. Now, these saguaro can live for 150 to 200 years. They can grow 40 to 60 feet high, and when they're hydrated, they can weigh nearly 5,000 pounds. And while there are thousands of them around Arizona, only a very few can be considered crested saguaros.
It's like the cactus just decided to take a different way of growing.
It's the most unusual saguaro I've ever seen. It looks very regal, almost like a crown.
If you live in Tucson and you've been paying attention, you might have noticed one of these. It's a rare mutation of the saguaro cactus called a cristate, or crested saguaro. This one is located right next to Old Main on the University of Arizona campus. There's a strange one on the drive up to the top of A Mountain, one at Tohono Chul Park, one by the entrance to the Desert Museum, and a few more scattered around town. If you look for them on Google or search #crested saguaro on Instagram, you can see quite a few more. Even in this age, when access to information seems infinite, the crested saguaro is still a mystery.
In a crested saguaro, you have an icon on top of an icon. You have the strange form of the saguaro, which stands out so much in our minds, and you've added a whole nother dimension to it in this strange growth.
The saguaro cactus on its own is an international icon.
The giant saguaro, monarch of the cactus family and trademark of the Southwest.
Its form can be recognized across the world in photographs, illustrations, and even emojis, but it only grows here in a portion of the Sonoran Desert. Its area spans from western Sonora, Mexico to southern Arizona, and barely spills over into parts of California.
In many cultures, the greeting is to have an open hand and hold your hand up. So subconsciously, I think it's buried in our psyches that this is something in our environment that we need to take note of.
Bill Peachy was born in Arizona and has been fascinated by the desert as long as he can remember.
The climate, the rocks, the plants, the animals, it all fits together in one way or another, and it's like a giant detective story.
What we do know about crests is that they occur in most species of cactus, but none are as noticeable as the saguaro.
They draw query like a magnet. What is causing this? How could this be? Why is it this way?
This is Pat Hammes. She was drawn in by the crested saguaro 11 years ago.
I belonged to the Southern Arizona Hiking Club and was a peak bagger. So as I was out climbing mountains, I would often see, or occasionally see, a crested saguaro. So one of the hiking guides suggested that we start taking pictures of them.
That hiking guide was veteran Bob Cardell.
The Marine Corps taught me how to hike, and I'm president of the Southern Arizona Hiking Club, my second tour of duty there. And I'm goal-oriented, and I love these mountains. While I was out hiking to the peaks, I was looking down through there, and I saw these funny-looking saguaros. I didn't know what they were for quite a while. I read a newspaper article that said there's 214 of these crested saguaros in Arizona. I said, I've seen more than that. So my new goal was to prove that fallacy incorrect.
Eventually, that became our only mission, was to find the crested saguaros.
Cardell, Hammis, and a small group of people formed the Crested Saguaro Society and began photographing and geotagging all the crested saguaros they could find, trying to prove there were more than 214 in the world.
And I was addicted. Right away, I bought a camera and I started taking pictures. Never slowed down.
The first known photograph of a crested saguaro appeared over 100 years ago, and you will never guess where. It was part of an Arizona Territory display set up at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. Little is known about how it was transported, but it most certainly died during the Chicago winter. 1893 seems like a long time ago to us humans, but in the life of a saguaro, it's a different story.
They transform themselves from beings that are no bigger than a rice grain to multi-tonned individuals that we see that may live a couple hundred years. So they're operating in a span beyond ours.
To try to understand why saguaros crest, Peachy tells us it's important to understand how saguaros grow in the first place.
The stems grow like the party animals that hired clowns would make at a kid's birthday party. They unfold from the end and grow up taller and taller.
As they grow taller, they create pleats that can expand or contract to hold more water.
Each pleat hosts a row of spine clusters. Each spine cluster can grow multiple buds, flowers, and fruit, and maybe grow an arm later. What you see in a saguaro is a very long, involved process aimed towards reproduction.
These flowers are the result of that long process. They bloom when the saguaro has the best chance to reproduce, usually late April to early June. Crested saguaros, however, can vary wildly. Take this cactus in Deland de Benedetti's front yard, for example. We found it in full bloom back in February, months before it should be flowering.
It blooms twice a year. We've lived in this home 39 years, and when we moved in, it was not a crested saguaro. In the last 20 to 25 years is when it's become obviously crested and extremely obviously crested. The last 3 to maybe 4 years, 3 additional arms have started to become crested.
What's happening is the control mechanism for what causes the number of pleats is out of control. So instead of occasionally branching, there are multiple branches on a crest, and it keeps branching until it can't branch anymore.
Russell True's family moved to Arizona when he was a young child to open White Stallion Ranch.
I just thought the desert was amazing. I was out in it all the time.
This cactus has been there as long as he can remember. There's a prickly pear growing out of the crest.
Guests look forward to coming out and seeing what they usually call the mutated saguaro, and we explain it's a cristator crested. You don't always see a cactus growing out of a different type of cactus, and they find that really interesting.
Recently, he found another crested saguaro forming on his property.
The first question is, why are they like that? And the experts don't know, so we don't know either. So we give them a few of the theories, and that really doesn't satisfy anybody, but still they're just happy to see it.
Of those theories, the ones that are mentioned the most are freezing and lightning, but Bill Peachy thinks it's something else.
I personally think that it's hormone control because it turns on and off. If you notice the cactus behind us, it went back to normal. There are 2 normal growths off of it.
No matter what the cause is, members of the Crested Saguaro Society are still hunting for new ones.
I found 3 new ones this past weekend.
It makes you run to it to get pictures of it. It's very exciting.
Made my day. Sometimes I go out all day long just find one. That's okay, if it's a nice one.
Originally, we thought the ratio was maybe 4 in a million. Now I think it's at least 10 in a million, maybe more.
As of May 2016, there have been no surveys extensive enough to estimate how often saguaros crest. The Saguaro National Park is going to include that data in its 2020 saguaro census for the first time. The Crested Saguaro Society's obsession has proved one thing, though, that previous estimates of how many there are in the world were way off.
I've proven that they're more common than they were thought to be because people just didn't go out there and look for them. Now I've got over 2,000 of them, 2,214 crested saguaros.
Their data starts to paint a picture. You can see the number of crested saguaros in each county in Arizona. Still, little is known of crested saguaro populations in Mexico. Though more common than previously thought, these cacti are also more susceptible to frost and strong wind than normal saguaros. They are also threatened by poachers because of their uniqueness and value. As a result, they are afforded the highest level of protection from the Arizona Department of Agriculture.
Someday I hope science will diagnose what causes a saguaro to crestate. Right now they just don't know.
This is one of those things that may never be figured out in our lifetime because it's so difficult.
There are many things in life, and there always will be, that we haven't figured out.
There's a whole lot in our whole universe, let alone Earth, that we don't know much about. That doesn't make it any less interesting.
I love that we don't know everything. It reminds us of how little we really do know.
They're a mystery of Mother Nature, and they're just beautiful. I love them. Real addiction. And I'm not quitting either. I'm over 80 now. I'm not even slowing down. I'm going to keep looking for more.
Two hours east of Tucson is a wondrous place of balanced rock and pinnacles, a place with some of the state's best hiking and camping and wildlife viewing and stargazing, a place that some believe should become America's next national park, Chiricahua National Monument.
Chiricahua National Monument was first established by President Coolidge in 1924, primarily for the protection of our pinnacle rock formations. The pinnacle rock formations are the result of volcanic explosions that occurred over 27 million years ago, some of the largest volcanic activity in the American Southwest. And of course, over millennia, it has eroded to form just a beautiful array of pinnacles, spires, and unique balanced rocks.
The Apache called the Chiricahua Mountains the land of standing rocks because you literally see the rocks that are out there that are standing.
Just beautiful. A variety of shapes and sizes.
You can use your imagination and come up with dogs' heads and people's heads and balanced rocks and anything you want to imagine you can probably see up there. They truly are, and geologically they're very interesting too.
The Echo Canyon Trail is the perfect introduction for a hike at Chiricahua National Monument. Half a mile down the trail, you'll be at an incredible feature called the Grottos, which is a fun place to climb and explore. The grotto is, you could call it a cave-type feature, but it's once again caused by water erosion. And if you look up above you, there's a big boulder suspended right above your head.
I've been here many times, and I brought the Boy Scouts up many times as being a scoutmaster. And we've walked all the trails and camped in the campgrounds, and it's a beautiful area for people to visit.
We're on our 50th anniversary trip, and this is one of our stops to visit our relatives, so we've enjoyed it very much.
Had you heard about this place before you came here today?
No, no, not, the cousin. So you've got to go see it, so. And he hasn't steered us wrong yet.
So one of the dramatic landmarks you can see from Chiricahua National Monument is Cochise Head, which is actually in the Coronado National Forest. And look for the profile of a person laying on their back with their nose pointed up in the air, and that's how you know you're actually looking at this mountain that was named in honor of the famous Chiricahua Apache chief Cochise.
His name is synonymous with southeastern Arizona. After all, Cochise County is named after him in southeastern Arizona. And Cochise's time of leading the Apache was back in the 1860s and early 1870s.
After he died of natural causes in 1874, his son Naiche took over as leader, and Naiche and Geronimo were the folks in charge of the Chiricahua Apaches until their final surrender in 1886. Besides the very unique geology, we are at a crossroads for 4 very different ecosystems. From the Rocky Mountains to the north, to the Sierra Madre Mountains of Mexico from the south, and also touches of both the Sonoran Desert by Tucson and the Chihuahuan Desert to the southeast. So as you hike the trails, look for trees like the Apache pine mixed with the agaves and the yuccas, and cactus like the prickly pear cactus or cholla cactus too.
We have a wide variety of flora and fauna, over 1,200 species.
We saw a black bear. I don't know if you heard about that. Everything is great, hikes, birds, animals.
Not only are the Arizona white-tailed deer common, but you might be lucky to see one of the wild turkeys that have been reintroduced into this mountain range in about 2006. Really fun thing about the wild turkeys is that when you look at the origin of the name Chiricahua, it goes back to the Opata or Opata people who were here before the Chiricahua Apaches. And their word to describe this mountain range, according to one translation, means place of the wild turkey.
I was a teacher for many years in this area, and I'd bring my classes up. And we usually took the mile trail down to the Faraway Ranch and went through the Faraway Ranch. And the kids just loved it and learned a lot.
Faraway Ranch was the original homestead for Neil and Emma Eriksson, immigrants from Sweden. So this is a classic pioneer tale. Neil and Emma settled here in the late 1800s after the Chiricahua Apaches had surrendered for the final time and transformed a one-room log cabin into the 2-story house that we see today. We do give guided tours of the home because it's still completely furnished with the family items ranging from the 1870s to the 1970s. You'll have a chance to go back in time. You might look for things such as the milk separator, which after they milk the cows, you use that machine to separate the milk from the cream and then turn it into butter or even use the homemade ice cream maker. The original kitchen table still has the storage bins for Emma's 25-pound bags of flour and sugar. However, we no longer have the original wood-burning stove because by the 1940s, the family was ready to upgrade to the gas stove with its 6 burners and 2 ovens. The Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC, was one of President Roosevelt's first government work programs during the days of the Great Depression. And after the monument was designated in 1924, the first thing the National Park Service did was bring in the CCC to make those needed staff and visitor facilities. They were the folks who built the hiking trails, for example. They even built most of the structures that we use today, the campground, and here, the original visitor center and headquarters area. Chiricahua National Monument would not be what it is today with all the many projects they were able to accomplish in that 6-year span of time.
People know more about the Grand Canyon and some of the other parks and monuments in Arizona, but Chiricahua National Monument is one of the top-rated places to must-see in Arizona.
In our busy world today, it's hard to find somewhere you can go and experience complete solitude, peacefulness, silence. Here at Chiricahua, it's often you have the entire hiking trail to yourself.
Like what you see on Arizona Illustrated? Visit our webpage at azpm.org to watch and share videos from this episode. You'll also find stories from future programs. an easy way to submit your own story idea, an archive of past episodes of Arizona Illustrated. And you'll find everything you need to stay connected with public broadcasting in Southern Arizona. azpm.org. Writer and historian Wallace Stegner called the national parks the best idea we ever had. The network of 58 parks and 333 monuments and historic sites that make up the national parks turned 100 last year. So who will nurture this best idea through the next century? Well, there's a group here in Southern Arizona working to ensure that our parks are in good hands.
The national parks of the United States are an ever-changing assemblage of color, complexity, and character. They are places like the awe-inspiring Grand Canyon in northern Arizona or Saguaro National Park around Tucson. These ancient habitats amaze and mesmerize and are frequently described as majestic or captivating.
All of the stories that make us unique as a nation, every single one of those stories is protected by a national park site somewhere.
Just there's so much history. It's hard to explain, but it's a special place. It's like you're in an alien planet. It's just unique in its own way. And sometimes I take that for granted. I'm used to this. So I like to go out there, immerse myself into the wild, close my eyes and take a deep breath and then open my eyes and see how amazed I am and blessed I am being in this place, which is very unique.
Freddy Gutierrez was born in Tucson and grew up in Los Angeles. He is back in Arizona, however, where he embraces the Sonoran Desert and its attributes.
Good morning and welcome to Saguaro National Park. You are invited to discover the desert community.
Gutierrez has taken part in the program called Next Generation Ranger Corps. The goal is to increase the number of young and ethnically diverse people who visit the parks or become the next batch of employees and leaders in the National Park Service. He thought he might want to work in law enforcement until he discovered this program. Now he is hooked, in a way rediscovering his roots. His parents are from Mexico, and Gutierrez spent many of his summers in the state of Sonora, south of Arizona. As a very small child, he could explore an expansive world where his grandparents and their ancestors made a living.
My first memories are from there, and it's very special. It's not just my love of nature, because I do love the plants, the animals, but it goes beyond that. It touches my heart.
It is also touching and moving for Valentina Vavages. She's another participant in Next Generation Ranger Corps who is meeting new people and learning different skills. Vavages is Tohono O'odham, one of Arizona's desert people. She grew up west of Tucson in two of her nation's small villages where culture and tradition were constant companions. Vavages has fond recollections of an active childhood, one which was heavily influenced by her elders, especially Grandma Mary.
And they planted melons, they planted cantaloupe, they planted sugar cane, they planted corn. And I remember as a little girl, because I was so small and the bushes seemed so tall, I loved to run around in there because it felt like a jungle to me. So that was a good memory that I had.
Her grandmother believed in respecting nature, working hard, and getting an education. Making the right choices, she would say. Vavages listened. She graduated from the Tohono O'odham College and wants to earn her bachelor's degree at the University of Arizona.
As I was growing up in the nearby elementary, I got Student of the Month all the time, and she would go with me. You know, she was there. It was a first for the entire Vavages family, you know, to graduate the high school, to go to college, and to also attend a major university. That was the biggest thing, and I'm glad that she was around when I was able to do those kind of things, because it really made her happy.
And she enjoys sharing her story, making the rounds and supporting the parks.
I started as a Next Generation Ranger, working as an environmental education intern. It's a big deal, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. It's a passion of mine, and I'm happy and I feel blessed that I'm able to do what I'm doing.
Diana Rhodes is an urban fellow for the National Park Service. She is focusing on different areas such as making the parks more relevant to wider audiences and getting ideas for their next 100 years.
The Next Generation Rangers is our best hope to create the next generation of parks advocates and supporters. When we train young people to have the skills to compete in the federal job marketplace, we will succeed in bringing not only people of diversity into the parks, but also hiring people into the parks.
So this is Little Mountain. You go up there, you hike up there. There's a little path. It's beautiful.
Once people recognize that these parks exist and experience one, that usually becomes a life-changing moment for many, many people. You protect what you love. We need advocacy so that people love these places and protect these places.
We recognize that this is a big problem because the next 50 years from now, who's going to be the folks that are supporting us? Who are going to be the folks who come in and understand their national stories and use the National Park Service to teach their children about the national stories? It's going to be this next group of kids that we weren't seeing. So it was a problem that we really wanted to start cultivating, especially here within Tucson where the story is so rich.
It can seem like an uphill battle sometimes since typical visitors to the country's biggest parks are in their 50s. Outdoor enthusiasts are concerned about a disconnect between younger generations and public lands.
I would say the barrier is their phone. They see it and that's it. I wish that people would get off their phones and see it for reals. It's an amazing place. I would actually want to see a saguaro in person than to see it on my phone or see it on Facebook.
The parks hope to join them if they can't beat them by using social media to spread the message about these places. Still, person-to-person contact is pivotal, and that's where marketing and outreach efforts are important with a new team of players.
I'm really passionate about it is because all the different resources all around the United States, all around Tucson, it just amazes me what we have here, and I think people should find that and be aware of what we have here.
I like giving out information. I like interacting with people. I really want to be an interpretation ranger in the future.
Valentina Vavages is also setting her sights on the future and younger generations, not only in Tucson, but also among her people. She wants to increase hope and encourage others to consider new horizons and options, geographically and personally.
The fact that I get to do it with my job is even more worthwhile, and it allows me to express a lot of myself because the park shares a lot of passions that I have.
And the vivid environment is one of them. A vast and beautiful world that reminds her of a special childhood and the unforgettable connection to her Grandma Mary.
That story first aired in 2015. The Next Generation program is still inspiring future rangers. Valentina Vavages is still involved in the program, and Freddie Gutierrez is a guide at Saguaro National Park. Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. And if you can, get out and enjoy our national parks this week. I'm Tom McNamara. See you soon.